On June 24, 1991 in New York City, Intel was joined by members of the computer industry to introduce the 50 megahertz version of the 486 microprocessor. Intel also unveiled its technology roadmap for new products through 1992. Attending companies showed off a number of 486 50 megahertz based systems, as well as demonstrating other advanced technologies. Speaking for Intel was its president and CEO, Dr. Andrew Grove, and Senior Vice President Dave House.
The PC of the 90s is no longer used just for personal productivity. It's used for group productivity, the sharing of information and files. It may even be connected to an enterprise or company-wide network. It may be used to run mission-critical applications, those applications that we use to run our businesses, accounting, payroll, order entry, and the like. We call this type of use business workgroup computing. In the past, mainframes were used for a corporation's business systems. Mini computers were used for departmental computing and engineering applications. These systems were islands of automation and were not integrated in any way. PCs were typically separate, at best connected to the mini or the mainframe as a simple terminal emulator. Today, corporations are beginning to connect these assets to take advantage of the improved price performance of microprocessor-based servers and desktop systems and to respond to users' demand. Users want to access corporate data from within the comfort and ease of use of their personal productivity platforms, not from archaic terminals. In addition, users want to communicate with each other and share data. Satisfying these needs is a key way to improve the business productivity of an enterprise. That is why we at Intel are investing almost $1 billion in 1991 alone in capital to put in place the world's most advanced fabs, all devoted to producing high-performance silicon building blocks for the demanding needs of business workgroup computing users. This April, we introduced the 486 SX microprocessor as a new entry point into 486 desktop computing. Today, we will introduce another very important member of the 486 family. Please welcome Dave House, who will tell you more about this product.
Today, Intel is introducing two key technology building blocks. The 50 megahertz Intel 486DX microprocessor. The second is the 50 megahertz Intel CPU Level 2 cache module, which provides the maximum performance from the i486 microprocessor. At Drystone MIPS of 41, our fastest 486 is 43% faster than the fastest Spark microprocessor at 29 MIPS and 27% faster than the fastest MIPS processor, the 33 megahertz IDT R3000. Over the next year, Intel will provide performance at a range of price points with new products in four areas. First, existing 486 products will move to higher frequencies. Second, a new generation of 386 486 family. Third, a 486 derivative for higher performance desktop systems. And fourth, new upgrade products for 486-based systems. Currently, Intel is in the final stages of development of our next generation processor, which at over 3 million transistors provides mainframe class capabilities in a single chip microprocessor. For instance, it includes mainframe class data integrity and non-stop computing features. It is designed using superscalar RISC technology. It utilizes dual execution pipes to execute up to 2 instructions in parallel in a single clock. This delivers a Drystone MIPS performance of over 100 MIPS. To support the emerging use of multiprocessors in servers and mainframes, the next generation processor will have even further expanded multiprocessing capabilities. And of course, it will directly execute 100% of your Intel 386 and Intel 486 applications and operating systems. Sampling to OEMs will begin in mid-92. We expect to see OEM systems in the second half of 1992. Starting with the new Intel 486SX introduction this past April, the upgrade paradigm has been subtly expanded. The socket on a 486SX system is no longer just a math coprocessor socket. It becomes a more universal upgrade socket. Two upgrade products are under development which use the 2x clock technology that I described earlier. Versions will be introduced to support both the Intel 486SX and Intel 46DX based systems. Some of you may have purchased 20 megahertz Intel 46SX systems which contain an upgrade socket. Today you can insert an Intel 47SX for improved math performance. Next year you'll be given a second upgrade choice. A 2x clock CPU upgrade will run at 40 megahertz internally. As a result, your 20 megahertz Intel 46SX system can be upgraded in the future to performance similar to that of a 33 megahertz 46DX system. And for the utmost in performance upgrades, a version of the next generation microprocessor that I talked about earlier will be developed in the upgrade socket form factor. So Intel 46SX and Intel 46DX systems can have access to the next generation of CPU performance.
From Intel News in New York, this is Byteline with your host, Dave House.
Today's topic, business workgroup computing. What is it? Who's got it? How does Lotus Notes make workgroup computing really work?
Well, what you're seeing here, Dave, is fully networked video and audio technology. With Lotus Notes running under OS 2, you can actually look at a video message like this message here. We're using, of course, the 50 megahertz chip in the Notes server, which allows Notes to provide much better performance to more users. And in addition, we're also using another Intel technology, DVI, which is providing the video capabilities you see here.
What we have here is a very respectable technical workstation, and what I have running here is the very popular MicroCAD application running on our newly announced DOS 5.0, all on a Model 90. And as you can see, it's doing wonderful drawings right now.
Tell me, how hard is it to network your personal computers around an Intel 486 running at 50 megahertz?
Dave, it's not hard at all. In fact, I've got 3 workgroup solutions that I'm going to show you today. The first is in the area of insurance. I've used MS Word from Microsoft as my corporate accident report. I've used Excel from my adjuster to put together the damage assessment to repair the vehicle. And I've scanned in the original police report using Paintbrush. Along with that, with Aldus PageMaker, I've got the picture of your damaged car, Dave.
We now have benchmarks that show beyond dry stones in terms of transaction processing, the new industry standard TPCA benchmarks, starting with 15 transactions per second on the single processor machine and all the way up to 129 transactions per second, clearly into the mainframe class of power on the Symmetry 700. This, of course, is mainframe power available to the work group at costs of probably up to as little as 1/5 of the cost of standard mainframes.
You've had a great amount of success at CA taking applications from mainframes and putting them on an Intel 46 microprocessor-based client and on servers.
One of the guiding principles of CA90s, our computer architecture for the 90s, is to port our mainframe software solutions to the new 486 platform and engineer them for efficiency. Moving CA's broad range of system and application and database solutions in part or whole to the client-server architecture is a key part of our strategy and one of the major focuses of our research and development effort.
Tell me, Daryl, what systems have you networked and what business applications is your work group running?
Well, David, we have a real exciting demonstration here. We're showing both on OS 2 and Unix the same application. In fact, it's a Wing spreadsheet. And users are getting unbelievable performance tied together, sharing the same data from an OS 2 or Unix workstation on our NetWare file server running on the NetWare 3.11 and our 50 megahertz. What's really exciting is when we run a program called Speed, it's the first time we've ever seen the speed rating go way above 1,000. So I know our NetWare administrators and users are going to be incredibly excited with the performance they're going to get.
At the entry level, the NCR 3125 Notepad computer provides pen computing in a package only 1 inch thick and weighing less than 4 pounds. At the high end, the massively parallel 3600 system supports Unix 5 Release 4 multiprocessing and scales up to 288 486 microprocessors. We believe that this provides the broadest array of product based on the Intel 486 processor in the industry, a complete enterprise-wide top-to-bottom solution set.
How will Microsoft help us communicate with one another?
Well, in the next generation of PC applications, we see the most exciting applications, those that help people in work groups work together. Our strategy is first to provide a powerful messaging infrastructure that permit users and applications to share and exchange data and information on networks. Our first application in this area is an email application, which we introduced earlier this year. One more thing, Dave, that I noted among our guests and at the show today is how many Windows applications there are. Windows is becoming a pervasive client front end into workgroup computing, and you're seeing Windows tying into a variety of different networks and servers.
Our strategy is directly in line with yours. We believe that workgroup computing of servers and desktops are going to serve all the computing needs into the future. So we're upgrading the System Pro, we have expansion capabilities, we have disk monitoring capabilities. All together, we're going to be able to solve the computing environment of the future.
I know Unisys has its own commercial workstation family based on the seamless networking support of CTOS. What can the SuperGen CTOS computers do for workgroup computing?
Dave, the recently announced CTOS SuperGen, shown here on my right, is an important part of a new member of systems designed to support the Unisys architecture. And as you know, the Unisys architecture defines an open environment from workstations to mainframes.